It's my feel-good breakfast show.
You're back with your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. Time to talk health. Now, have you ever thought about how many hours a day you spend with your earphones in? Some of us spend most of our working day blasting music directly into our ear canal without considering the possible risk. Now, hearing loss is a big problem, and statistics show that the number of people in the world suffering from hearing loss is increasing. So we're back with Dr. Darren Green to weigh on this situation. Weigh in, rather, not weigh.
That's
How are you, Dr. Darren Green?
Fantastic,
so
thank you.
Good to see you here.
Thank you.
Let's kick off with the very first question. I think a lot of us take our hearing for granted.
Indeed.
We really, really do. We put tremendous pressure on our ear canals and our eardrums and all that. But what exactly is hearing loss?
Yeah, it's the process by which any component of the pathways that give you hearing can be affected. And it can be affected by internal factors, external factors, environmental factors, etc. Well, that means anything from the transport of sound waves from the external environment, from the structure of the outer ear that channels all those waves to the inner ear. Look at that beautiful picture. Wow. Anything that can cause hearing loss, and the different types we'll get into, but that can obstruct the movement of sound through the outer canal to the middle ear and then eventually into the inner ear and then be conducted. That sound gets relayed into an electric signal.
Wow.
And then that's transported via a nerve in the ear. And that has to communicate with the brain. So if all that's still intact and the part of the brain that's responsible for receiving that electrical signal is damaged or malfunctioning, you can't hear. So, you know, there are many causes along the path, as you can see.
Wow, that's a very interesting diagram. I think they actually used my ear for that. But I just wanted to, it does look like my ear. But I just wanted to find out if they, I mean, you gave us a great process as to how that hearing, that process works from as soon as you get a sound and goes straight through and it's stimulated. So just to get more in depth with, when I hear that sound, when the ear is now sort of activated, what is actually happening?
Sure. So if you take a sound wave, waves of different frequencies, you get high pitches, low pitches. So we can't take for granted that people that aren't musicians or in entertainment and DJs know exactly how the sound waves work. But those different pitches all have a wavelength, and that wavelength obviously is relayed and it's channeled like a satellite dish by the outer ear. Some people have bigger satellites. They can conduct some wide areas, and that then is relayed to all the way through to the inner parts of the ear, where it shakes a membrane, and those vibrations are converted by specialized cells into an electrical signal. And that signal, just like visual signal through the eyes, is then relayed via the auditory nerve all the way to the brain, and the brain then interprets that based on training, on memories, and previous experiences as well.
Are there different types of hearing loss? Or maybe we should actually talk about this in our second segment, because I don't know, I feel like it might not just be cut and dry, and there might be different facets to all of this. So when we come back with Dr. Darren Green, we're going to chat about different types of hearing loss. If you have a question or a comment, or you just want to weigh in, why don't you give us a call on 021-430-9881.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
We're back with Dr. Darren Green, and we're chatting about hearing conditions. Now, just before Warrior Rick gave us the obstacle course details, we asked the question, are there different types of hearing loss that we need to be considering? So, Doctor, if you don't mind, we need an answer for that question.
No, sure. So if there's a problem with the brain processing the signal that it receives after the vibrations have been converted to electrical signals, that's called an auditory processing type of hearing loss. The other two main groups are conductive, where you could have anything obstructing the vibrations getting to the specialized organs that convert them to signal. And that could mean an impacted bit of wax. It could mean infections of the external ear and the middle ear. And also, obviously, things like a perforated eardrum, where you could actually have a burst eardrum. Someone clapping someone on the ear or falling, or just trauma from noise pollution, etc. as well. And then, obviously, the next type is called sensory neural, and that sounds fancy, but neural, everyone knows, is nerve. So the nerve itself can become damaged, and that's normally damaged long-term by things like chemicals as well, and also conditions that can affect the outer covering of the nerve, like multiple sclerosis, for example, as well. So there are quite a few, and then you get a mixed picture. So the fourth picture would be a mixture of the conductive, the blocking one that I mentioned, and the sensory neural, which is the nerved one.
We've actually got a caller on the line, Shafiq from Cape Town. Good morning, Shafiq. What is your question or comment for Dr. Darren Green?
Hi, good morning, Prof.
Morning.
I would like to know, my son is about 3 years old. He's infected for basically about 2 years with his ear problem. It's pus coming out of his ear, but we went to the doctor, we went to Red Cross, they just operate on him, but I'm still stuck in with the same problem. I just want to know, what can I do?
Sure.
Good question. So he mentions obviously an infective process. When you see a purulent or a pussy discharge from someone's ear, it normally means that they have an ear infection, either the middle ear that's then obviously leaked out, or even a perforated eardrum with an infection. And the problem there in children, obviously, is they love sticking things in their ears. So foreign bodies, etc. And the biggest risk, obviously, are children that have things like eczema, because the skin flakes and they get eczema and atopia or skin reactions inside the ear canal, which precipitates infections as well. So in this case, I'd recommend that, obviously, and I'm sure they have, Red Cross being in a phenomenal center, they've probably cultured the actual infection, seen what bug is causing it, and then treat accordingly. And then you have to look at the anatomy of the ear. Is the canal narrowed? Is it getting enough air? Is the drainage happening sufficiently? So there are many things that play a role into someone getting recurrent ear infections, but I think he's in good hands, and I think rigorous follow-up and compliance on the meds is what he can do at the moment, and then obviously they'll do systematic hearing tests to check.
Well, thank you so much, Shafiq, for your question. I hope that that's seriously, that's given you some insight into what you can do. When we come back after the break, I want to talk about earphones. Now, we all use them, but is there any evidence that long-term use every day could cause some serious damage? We talk about that after the break. 021-430-9881.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso here on SABC3. We're still chatting to Dr. Darren Green, and the question was, before the break, a very simple one about just, it's about hearing conditions, of course, but we just wanted to know a bit more, about the whole earphones thing and whether there is some evidence related to earphones and long-term hearing damage.
Yeah.
The pods, look at those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people have moved away. Some people spend thousands on buying proper muffs or, what cans, you call them.
Yes.
But these are the ones that we're putting into the ear itself. And interesting enough, these are known to cause more ear damage. And sensory neural hearing loss is what we are concerned about. This is all dependent on the volume. So anything less than 85 decibels. To give you an idea of decibels, traffic is about 75 decibels in the morning in here, not in New York City, but here. So if you think about that, a whisper is 30 decibels. So anything more than 85 decibels, and depending on your duration after that, has the ability to cause damage to the nerve of the inner ear. So you've got to consider, obviously, that those noises and the duration you're exposed to them can precipitate that. If you can hear someone's music while they've got those pods in the ear, it's too loud.
Wow.
So your family, your friends, your siblings, have a listen, then you know that it's too loud. And, as I said, anything above that, so 95 and up. A subway station, for example, underground, that's 95 and up. So there's already damage, that's occurring there.
There's a reason why your phone, when you turn the volume up, says listening beyond this point is dangerous.
And great to have those warnings, obviously. So
a lot of us disregard it.
The duration of exposure is very important. Yeah.
What is a safe volume to listen to music at?
So some of the volumes are graded at levels. Level 4 typically is set at about 90 decibels on most devices or most handsets. So in this case, you don't want to go past level 4 with those pods specifically.
Yeah.
So if I look at earphones, they seem like they're plugging up your ear. So just in terms of that, is there any evidence that can cause an infection or even a wax buildup? Because a couple of the peers are saying, when you use these earphones, it causes more wax. Is there any truth in that?
Your ears aren't meant or made to house those pods. They are created to receive sound and conduct beautifully without that.
Yeah.
So the issue is the recurrent use of friction over those areas cause skin irritation and then secondary bacterial infections, etc. Compacting wax, people that use earbuds shouldn't, because earbuds actually can assist in compacting wax, which makes it very difficult for your body's natural mechanism of removing wax and actually pushing it out while you sleep to actually take their form.
All right. Well, I want to chat about motion sickness and hearing. I don't know if we have maybe a little bit of time for that, or should we come back? We can do that. We can do that afterwards in the next segment. It's also going to give you enough time to give us a call on 021-430-9881. Motion sickness, hearing, what's the connection?
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Time for our final segment with Dr. Darren Green. We're talking a hearing and hearing loss this morning. I wanted to know from you, Dr. Darren
Yes.
Green, how is motion sickness connected to hearing?
Yeah, so the organs involved with motion sickness involve, obviously, equilibrium and balance. So there's a beautiful reflex between your eyes that observe the horizon.
Yeah.
And as you jog and move, for example, or you're in a boat or an aeroplane, and you're busy rocking to and fro, your ears have organs in them that are quite sensitive to that motion, and then have to help with that reflex, keeping your eyes orientated to the horizontal plane. If you have an oversensitive reflex, a vestibular-ocular reflex, or if you have a little crystal in the ear called an otolith that goes into the semicircular canals of the ear, it can wreak havoc, making you experience, obviously, a lot of vertigo, dizziness, nausea, and vomiting. And that's how motion sickness actually comes about.
I mean, a small sidebar. I know this is about hearing conditions, but given the fact that motion sickness is connected, I mean, do you have any hacks for those who have real problems getting into a vehicle or a bus, a
serious thing,
taxi, the motion sickness thing? I mean, are there any
Yeah.
ways to alleviate it?
I think rich people with those nice bouncy back seats, I think stay away from those. Don't sit in the back seat of a car. Preferably sit in the front, provided you're up to the criteria and age-wise, etc. Also, look at big meals before traveling. Not a good idea, but don't have your tummy completely empty. I know a lot of people swear by ginger snaps, salt and vinegar crisps, and all that kind of thing, just to have something in the tummy. But then, obviously, if you know that you're going to be that sensitive, take medication. You do get medication. A lot of them involve antihistamines that make you a bit drowsy, and antiemetics, anti-nausea drugs. So you can take that in advance, obviously, and then see how that works.
Just to end off, statistics does show that more and more people are suffering hearing loss. It's on the increase. What
young
is
people
the
particularly.
cause of this rise?
So possibly we are obviously highly connected to technology, and a lot of us are plugged in, whether we are on computers with earphones or pods in our ears, or whether we're using, obviously, while exercising. All that plays a role, and people weren't aware of the damage that is caused by that, firstly. Secondly, I think your threshold for volumes becoming louder and louder, depending on your environment and where you work. Populations have increased across the world. Traffic has got worse. Traveling, public transport has got more saturated in the largest cities of the world. And I think all that contributes towards the increased incidence.
So just very quickly, for those who are very worried about their hearing, what are some of the signs you need to look out for that would prompt you to go see or seek medical attention?
Yeah, so in children, have a look at their speech development, listen to the phonetic formation of sounds when they speak. Look also at whether they don't respond immediately. It's not by choice sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's because they actually can't hear you. Someone explained earlier on that they realize when they listen to a phone or answer the phone on one side, they just can't hear properly. Sure. And then in adults, obviously, tinnitus, which is a ringing or hissing in the ear, can mean early sensory neural hearing loss, but not always. So that's something to go and have checked out. And then obviously, if you notice any strange kind of responses where people are having difficulty with schoolwork or tasks that require that kind of engagement, often, instead of looking at the brain's ability, look at the hearing ability.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Darren Green, for being here with us. That was very, very enlightening. We feel so much better, and hopefully that's assisted you at home as well. We'll do our health talk again next Tuesday, same time, same place.